sit like this, like. На здоровье, товарищ. Когда можем на русский поговорить? Мало. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. This will be a lecture about one e-democracy concept we call Legislation 2.0. It's basically based on updating Croatian legislative process by introducing virtual working groups that we shall explain a little bit just now. So, this is Mr. Voras, and I'm Marko Sučić. We are from the Pirate Party of Croatia. We have been doing for the last, I think, 1 year or something like this on this project. And we started by analyzing current Croatian legislation system. So, what were the problems of today? As everybody who is also here from Croatia know, we can only choose from election lists predetermined by political parties. So there's basically no options to choose single politicians from this list, or even it's science fiction to choose like a public policy that you would like. After all the votes are divided, you basically have very little choice in normal parliamentary elections about what would you like with your country, and basically you can only choose, let's say, ideology, because you can basically choose from the election lists that are left, you can choose from the election lists that are more Christian democratic, and that's it. You cannot choose anything else in this country. Later, when we have legislation proposals, basically government selects a group of professionals, group of experts, that creates a proposal for certain legislation, which after that goes to government to disseminate and to create like a working proposal, and then it goes to the parliament. But what happens? Basically, what kind of proposal does this work group creates? That's it. Most of the time nothing changed when it goes into the government, and most of the time nothing changed when it goes to the parliament. So how do we know? There were even some laws that were unchanged from the first to the last instance. You could also find some grammar mistakes or some basically
some typos.
Some type errors even in vote proposal that are being just copy-pasted and sent to the parliament. So actually we have no no democratic debate about such a legislation proposal, except the one in the newspapers and the media. And we have very low democracy in public deliberation process of any legislation right now in Croatia. We decided we have to change this, and we try to do it by using existing public infrastructure that should be free and easy to use. How did we do it? So, this is only the writing of all of this that we said. So basically, what says here in the red, we have very strong concentration of power in the hands of a few, because most of the time Prime Minister chooses the expert group. This expert group creates a proposal for legislation, and this legislation goes into the parliament almost unchanged. So basically, the way that Prime Minister personally wants, or some minister wants some legislation to look, it will look like that in the end. So basically, no democratic debate.
Okay. Well, the basic problem is how to actually introduce more democratic process and more democratic power in the hands of the people in general. The idea is basically to use modern technology to accomplish such a thing. Because today we have the internet as a global platform we can be used in communication between all people. Of course, there's the problem of really using really accessible knowledge of how to use in the internet and the actual knowledge of how to assess the proposals, but this will be addressed a bit later. We have concepts like crowdsourcing, and we have a concept like liquid democracy, liquid feedback, which can be used to actually make for example, law proposals or any other kind of policy proposals available to the most people who are interested in participating. We are not saying that we will overturn the government. We are not saying that we will replace the government with something else. We are saying that by using already existing infrastructure, both the infrastructure which exists in the legislature and the infrastructure which exists as a technology, to gradually increase the number of people which can participate in creating or participating in constructing or commenting policy proposals. So we have social media, we have Twitter, we have technological means in which a lot of people can participate, discuss a single topic or discuss many topics, and this is actually becoming less of a technological problem and more of a social problem. So we have the means, we have the technology, but the problem is, do we have the proper state of education of the people, and do we have the proper motivation of the people to participate in all this?
I would say we don't have, right now we don't have enough political will to do it.
That is of course also present.
Right now in Croatia, basically, we more have like virtual reality of democracy. We don't have real democracy, and everybody knows it actually. But instead of just criticizing, we decided let's try what we can do. If we analyze that most legislation are being voted to the end in the same form, in the same substance, that are being created by the expert work groups, already pre-selected by the government and the ministers, we understand that we have to influence these expert groups to give their proposals to the public. And we tried to make a virtual environment in which it could be done. So, we developed a tool that is possible to collaborate for a large group on some text proposals. In the first step, government would still choose their experts, but we would give them a virtual environment for transparent discussions. Idea is to connect all other experts that are independent from the government to try to criticize the government's experts and to create a public pressure on them to explain what are the reasons for selecting certain proposal. Then we come to the problem, okay, not just yet, but in the mean, between the work group proposal and the government, we would choose these independent experts. So basically, between the government and of course the parliament, we would select another group of experts that we would collide with this group and fortunately create some sensible discussion. How to do it? First of all, you have to, if you want to select an independent expert, you have to have something that you can choose them from everybody else and something that you can select them from. If we would take this beautiful sentence from David Hume, then you can take a thesis that all knowledge is based on one's experience. And if we take that all knowledge is based on one's experience, we can try to make a system that remembers the history of a certain subject and his experience and creates a starting point for him to enter into the system. His initial karma points, you could say. For karma points, Voras could say something else. So.
Okay. So the question remains, how do we choose the experts? Because if you want to have a decent discussion, if you want to have a discussion which is productive, which can be used, which results can be used in creating actual real legislature and not as a internet forum which is full of trolls, we have to have a certain kind of expertise, a certain kind of professional behavior on this forum. We propose the idea that we can use two existing systems to choose the initial set of experts from. For example, there is the system of academic user accounts, which are granted to every person who has enrolled in a university in Croatia, and also to every professor of university in Croatia. And we can use data from such a system to discover if a user is, for example, a professor or in a university of, for example, law, or university or faculty of law, or a faculty of science, or a faculty of civil engineering. And we can propose that this user has certain expertise in this field, which he is already participating in, for example, in a faculty. This, of course, limits the system to academic personnel, for example, participants, students, professors, and other academic citizens. Researchers, for example, yeah. But this is only the start. This is only one of the infrastructure we can be used in selecting experts.
We choose to use existing public infrastructure, so we don't have to reinvent everything and not to use a lot of amount of money and time resource to develop something new from the scratch. The other thing that is even more important than the academician database is the employment e-certificate database. Prior to this, in Croatia we had something called radne knjižice, or work little books, that would store the entire information of your employment history with all of your employees. Every time that you would get employed with somebody, you would get the stamp, you would get a write down about something, and you would know by which employee, by which employer, and on which job, and how long did you work. So all of this will be put into one big database, because with entrance to European Union we cannot have work certificates anymore like we used to have, but we can have one large database that will store it all. This will be something like virtual CV, virtual curriculum vitae. And everybody who is in the working relations in Croatia, so everybody practically who is adult and who has worked anything in his whole life, we can have his data, we can have his expertise, and we can have some initial points that predetermine him if he is qualified for some discussion. I just want to remind us all of these discussions will initially be held on very high level, because you have the top government experts and you basically want to choose the top neutral experts from all possible places. So basically from the corporate sector, from the academia, from the research projects and so on.
Yes, because this is all. This whole discussion about choosing the right experts is only valid for the start of the system. As the system grows, as the system is being used through the years, new people will come to the system. New people will be identified as new experts. For example, if a user is proficient in something and he gives consistently good or consistently valued comments or consistently valued data, then there is no reason why he should not become one of the experts in the area which he says he had participated in. So this is only the initial seed of initial experts, which of course can grow later. One issue that I'd like to address here is the issue of privacy, because it may seem that this system leads to creation of a large databases in which every person is already known in advance, or which every person's personal information is stored. But it doesn't have to be. Basically, the government already has all these data and already uses them for example, calculating employment or unemployment scores and social or medical expenses, which will be taxes, which will be added to the person. But the idea is not to actually pick up personal information from government, but only some generic kind of information. For example, queries of the type, is this person employed in this or that field? This is enough for such system to work initially. So we feel that this addresses the issue of privacy.
Actually, government is doing one much larger project right now, e-citizen project. The goal of it will be that every citizen will receive his own personal email, his own personal e-certificate, and he will use this e-certificate to connect to all government services that are now online or that will be in short time. But we ask one question. If government give us public infrastructure to use public services over the internet, why can we not use these services that are already being paid by the public money, our money actually? Why can we not use it for e-democracy? Why can we not use it to communicate with the government on the other end? Why can we not use it to create a democratic society that we can all have some kind of vote? Why can we not make our votes for the elections through the internet? Why can we not make e-referendums? But referendums by themselves are not enough, because the most part, which is most important in the referendums, is the whole debate that precedes the referendum. Referendum is just the last part. The whole debate that goes in front of it is the most crucial and most important thing. And we are creating a special system for this debate. The last bit, the referendum, the technical process of the referendum itself, it's the least of the problems. It's the most easiest way to do it. If you have a certificate database, if you have, each person has its own digital certificate, identity card, so e-referendum is not a problem. This is all proven technology. Estonia has already several, something like this. Okay, so. All of this experience that we will get for the expert will be just their first initial karma points. Their initial points about how experienced are they in some subject and if they can say something about it or not. What about everybody else? General public that does not have some kind of qualification that will enable them to enroll in some debate. We did not leave them out, but they have also some very good information that may not be expertise knowledge, but they have information about what bothers them with the government policies. Each and every one of us have something that considers problematic with the government policy, with any issue. If you can get opportunity to present that issue to the other people that are also maybe neutral, non-government experts, when we consider all of this experience from all of these people, we can systemize it, we can create some kind of conclusion on it, and we can work upon it, and we can make better public policies, better laws, better government services, better state. So this is one small part in building a democracy state, but it's right now probably the only feasible one if we would get enough political will to do it. And later we can build more toward the liquid feedback and liquid democracy concept that pirate parties usually declare to be their main program.
Yes. Liquid democracy is based on the concept that people can be either passive and let somebody else vote for them, or people can be active and vote for themselves. Or a third category is people who can choose to be delegates for other people. For example, if I'm an expert in an area, for example, information technology and such, I can propose myself to be a delegate. I can announce myself to be a delegate for other people. Other people can choose me to represent them and to give me the power of their votes. If enough people give me their votes, if I vote vote for them, this is basically good for them because they have chosen not to participate directly. And this is also presumably good for me because I'm supposed to be an expert on this subject. If, for example, there are subjects in which person is directly, for example, expert in, for example, maybe some of you can be directly experts in, for example, in maybe art, maybe somebody is expert in technology, maybe somebody is expert in journalism, photography or something else, he can participate directly, or he can choose to be a delegate himself and other people can give him votes to do it. This is the concept behind liquid democracy, and one of the implementations of this is liquid feedback, which is being used in Pirate Party of Germany and some others. Which is basically solves the problem of having too little delegates and too much delegates. Solves the problem of being a democracy of almost direct nature, and also solves the problem of people not being interested enough to actually vote in such a democracy, which is basically a big problem of direct democracies.
So basically, if you don't want to vote in this kind of system, it's okay. You just transfer your vote for somebody who will do it for you. if you know that person to be experienced enough to make certain intelligent decision, and that you have enough confidence in him to create this decision. So basically, I don't know, for instance, I don't want to get involved in this legislation concerning IT. And I give my vote to him, I know him, I believe in him, I know he's an expert for this. He doesn't want to get concerned in something about economy or law, and he transfer his votes in these subjects to me. So basically, you don't have to get involved only in this first time to transfer your vote to somebody else who will do it for you, if you don't. But you can take it back anytime, in any subject, and you can vote it for yourself, if you don't consider your representative to be good enough. But that is quite progressive, especially for a country like us, and we don't expect to see something like this system very soon, but we have to start somewhere.
Yeah. Something about the current project status. This is an open source project being done by Pirate Party of Croatia. We have several collaborators on it. We basically need more collaborators. We need programmers, we need graphical designers and such. The current project status is that it is basically usable for the most simple tasks. Documents can be created, documents can be commented on, documents can be voted on, but some kind of fancy features and some kind of a better user interface is still pending. So if any of you is actually interested in joining us on this project,
you're more than welcome.
Just contact any of us, contact the organizers of this conference, contact the Pirate Party members anywhere, and they will eventually direct you to us. So, we have basic document editing. Individual articles of the documents can be edited individually, and also the history of these articles can be reviewed. So, for example, you know how a document has evolved from its initial state into its final state, and also you know who has made those changes. If a politician introduces a new sentence in the middle of a long law, you can basically immediately see where has it happened, when has it happened, and who did it. You can actually...
Which I can, just to add, which is very important for legitimacy in any kind of democratic state. Because a system like this will remember who voted for what did they say about it, what were the arguments, so in 5 years, if he changed that, you can basically have his whole history.
A basic new feature which comes with any kind of democratic system which exposes voting digitally is that is accountability, which comes from all this data. Of course, accountability is also dependent of your definition of privacy, because not everyone wants to have his votes visible, but we feel that politicians or delegates which are actively participating in the political process need to be accountable, and it overrides their sense of privacy.
It's the same it is now. If you vote in the parliament, there is no secret vote in the parliament. You have to stick your arm up and you have to say, yes, I am for this. If you want to vote for somebody to go into parliament, you can make a secret vote. Nobody will force you to reveal what did you write on your paper. Actually, something that even happens, but that's not the issue here. But all votes that are being done in your name should be public.
Yes. We also think of this project as something that we can give other organizations, other groups of people to use. So this is not something that will be only used in a pirate party or pirate parties. We can give this system to any one of you, any group of you, which is interested in using it. So for example, to hold
NGOs.
Internal discussions, internal voting in NGOs or any other kind of group.
Any organization that has some kind of democratic structure and needs to vote on some questions.
This is basically a few screenshots of the system, which shows that the current state of the design is not very good. But basically, we have some features which we picked up from social networking. For example, a stream of new content, a stream of a list of documents which can be accessed. This is basically an example of documents being edited, created, and commented on. And this is an example of using the facility of discovering changes between document versions. So we have an initial version, some changes, some other changes, and all of these changes can be visible and tracked.
Which any one of
future.
you that has any kind of connection with the legislation documents know how important it is.
Yes. The initial idea is to deploy the system for use in academic environments. For example, when the system is finished, we can basically immediately use it to discuss on some laws which are pertaining to academic institutions or scientific environments. And as the end, we would like to say that the main problem we have faced in all of our work is that there's a lack of education, lack of communication, and this is not something that will be solved by technology alone. So we have a proposal of how this can be done, but we also know that there will be a lot of need for direct communication, direct education of people who use this kind of system.
Exactly. We found out that in Croatian terms, level of public debate is very low. And the system itself will not change it, but as we said, we have to start somewhere. Thank you for your attention. This will be it from us.
Thank you.